This would be a quick track guide for the Gen 4 Cup car at Watkins Glen. Just a classic Cup layout. I'm gonna go through a couple laps where, like, out laps, and some laps where I have some issues, and then the final two laps I run, I think it's 4 laps total, are going to be the two that I kind of break down and analyze. I do a couple things different between the 2 laps, but the 673 and the 687 will be the ones that I really break down. But for starters, this car exiting pit road, you just have to be really easy on the throttle, and especially on cool tires on this outlap. Going through the S's is treacherous. You pretty much don't want to apply like 50% throttle before you're onto the straight. And see, yeah, actually that one. I found that when you are trying to apply throttle, you want to have as little steering in it as possible. And I would say maybe more than what you're used to in some cars. Like, obviously you want to try and minimize that in general, but it seems like this combo you really worry about your drive off the corner. For reference, I think I'm gonna pause it here, going into what would be the first lap after my outlap. I think default on the setup was 12-to-1 steering ratio. I think it's 64 or 65% on the brake bias. I ran 10-to-1, just quicker steering, allows for you more leeway and saving the car if need be. Offset stays at 0 because it's a road course. Brake bias, I would leave it at the default. If you find that you're braking perfectly fine, you can adjust it towards the rear a little bit. But you may find that the rear end starts stepping out on you. So I would just recommend leave it on default. So heading into turn 1, I'm looking for the stoplight here on the fence, and that's where I do my braking. Really, you can use second or third gear here. I think both are equally as effective. Second gear probably gives you a little bit better drive off the corner. But third gear also works with kind of minimal time loss, just less shifting, less wheel spin on exit. So if you're not as comfortable with road racing, that might be your better option. I say I look for the stoplight, but I'm off the throttle here. I'm braking before the stoplight, so just keep in mind I'll car length or 2 before that stoplight. Here I go down to third gear, try and get my right sides onto this this part of the curb. You don't want to go over this hump here and onto this other part of the curb. That's a bad area. So just try and get your rights onto this part of the yellow and red curb. You can exit out nice and wide. You can try and keep it off the curbing and get a straighter drive off if you want to be under a little bit more control. But to avoid any type of off track, you just got to keep your right sides on the yellow and red at all times, and then you need to get back to the right. So I think you have to do it, I don't know, it's somewhere before this curbing ends. I don't know if it's at the very, very end or if it's a little bit before it, but you just on. So here, I'm out of control going through these S's, so this is not a good lap to fully watch, but this is kind of where I make some mistakes here. I am just lifting for this first right-hander. But I try and apply too much throttle, which is what gets me out of control. You just got to really be patient on the throttle. I lift. I turned in too early, which got me all over this curb, and then I kind of jumped and just loose and losing it here. Ideally, you want to stay to the right here to kind of, and then that screws up my line here, and I'm on the curb. I'm dying through this entire. I said not to use this lap. So going into the bus stop here, I think I was trying to do something, clear something, I don't know, but I break this stoplight here right before the 600 board. Here's my reference point I use. You can aggressively take this curb here, just avoid the wall to the inside here. I stay in third gear. Like I said, this is not a great example of a clean lap. I don't break into the outer loop. I'm just really patient. I jump out of the throttle. I'm really patient applying the throttle back. Something I kind of look at is there's a white line here that gradually fades completely away. Kind of where that line fades completely away is where you can really start applying the throttle back. And exit out nice and wide. Personal preference here, you can try and keep it inside the yellow and red curb, or you can jump all the way across it. You just got to get all the way back to the right before this runoff area ends. I will tell you, you need to kind of do this gradually, because if you don't, the car will, when you make this transition, it will try and snap on you. I recorded this video earlier. I'm sorry. I'm just now getting to reviewing it. And here, I'm looking for where the grass ends. This little section of pavement, kind of at the start of this is my reference point I use. Go down to third gear. I just stay in third gear here. Try and stay within the curbing here. Then you want to get back to the left, and then I'm braking and lifting. There's an end of a wall right here. You want to lift and brake kind of before that, and you want to try and apex getting your right sides down to the curb on the inside and exit out. So right around here is actually where I'm already braking. Try and get to the curb, but don't touch it. You can see it kind of slants this way, and it's going to push you out wide if you get too much onto this curb. So just try and get your right sides onto this yellow line that's before the curbing. Makes it out nice and wide. And up to third. I go up to fourth there. Sorry, I was in third that whole time. Alright, so now my two actual flying laps I'm going to run here. So again, I'm going to use the stoplight here. But it's kind of as right before that light gets to my A-pillar here. In this lap, I go down to third. I think the lap after this, I go down to second, showing that both methods work. Stay in third gear, right, be really easy on the throttle, try and keep off the curves. Like I said, try and keep your wheel as straight as possible when you're really on the throttle. The 600 board or the stoplight on the wall, go down to third gear, cut the curb pretty aggressively. This car can take it. I'm not breaking into this corner, waiting for this white line to kind of start fading away. Throttle. Now really wide here, but I kind of gradually jump back onto the track. Start into the grass there. The pavement section is third gear. Stay in third gear. And that's it. So this lap, I run on an identical time, but I go down to second. second here. I don't run as quite as wide on initial exit, but third gear for your S's here, stay to the right. Be really gentle on your throttle here, trying to stay on the gas. A little wheeling as possible, as straight as possible. Drive off. Stoplight on the wall, third gear. Staying in third gear, nope. I run a little bit wider on the initial entrance there, but I don't run off nearly as wide. Probably a little better, truthfully. Third gear. Get loose there. I run at pretty much that's generally what I'm looking at. The cautious way of running here, you can just use third and fourth gear. You don't really have to use second if you don't want to. You can choose to. And you just want to make sure you brake earlier rather than later. The later you brake, the more prone you're going to be to locking up your front tires, or if you're in really hot and turning, you could lock up the rears and spin it. So just really back up your corners. If you think you can drive in a little bit further, like gradually work up to it. Just don't go out and try and drive in really deep from the beginning. Outside of that, let me know what questions you have, and I will answer the best I possibly can.